gentlemen, welcome to Doctor Who Reviews. This week we're talking about the classic 4th Doctor serial, City of Death. And to discuss it with me are my two usual co-hosts. Firstly, to my virtual left, he split himself across time due to an unfortunate mirror-based incident. It's Freezing Inferno.
Just leave him alone, he's happy. No, he's happy. Trust us,
Okay.
He's happy.
I mean, mirrors, how can you not be happy?
Exactly.
Is Clara there?
Yes, sure.
Okay, then I'm happy.
He is so easily satisfied, isn't he? And to my virtual right, from Paris to Berlin and every disco she's been in, it's Concave Usurper, also known as Cat.
Well, at the very least, this isn't another Surin episode, otherwise it'd be a Disco Inferno.
Hey.
Well, it is.
I do not apologize.
I mean, it is set in 1979, so.
You shouldn't apologize. That was good.
So, City of Death, chosen by Doctor Who Reviews Presents Who Let, is a classic color story that fandom loves. And indeed, it is, in that big poll that we keep mentioning, it is the 5th best Doctor Who story of all time. 1 point above another Tom Baker story called The... Oh, I'm sorry. What happened there?
You can't.
Oh, that sounds really bad. You should probably see a doctor about that.
Yeah,
I guess medical attention if that persists.
Yeah, so where was I? Oh, yeah, City of Death. Now, it's very easy to see why this is a beloved story in a lot of ways. And, well, to get into that, let's talk about the creation of it a bit. It's credited as being written by David Agnew, but this is actually a pseudonym. And 3 people involved in the production of Doctor Who worked on the first draft to get it into a filmable, producible state over a weekend with coffee and liquor and whatnot. And these 3 people were David Fisher, who wrote the original first draft, Graham Williams, the producer at the time, and the script editor at the time, this up-and-coming writer that you might have heard of called Douglas Adams.
Never heard of him.
Well, he wrote, what's it called? Hitcherton's Guide to Galaga.
Oh man, I love that book.
Yeah,
Sounds contrived.
Yeah, just a little something about Thursdays and, I don't know, planets go boom. But yeah, this is a big reason why people love the story, is because it has witty dialogue from one of the great witty dialogue writers of our time. And the story definitely has that. That's one of its biggest strengths, as we'll see, as we'll get into.
Yeah.
It
Definitely has the strength of being really well-written dialogue. And that's all I'm going to say for right now.
This implies something that's very strange, but why don't we get into the story proper with episode 1 of City of Death?
Absolutely. So part 1, and we open on a desolate landscape with eerie music playing, and a strange alien pilot in a spacecraft who's trying to take off.
He's got one eye, and he's green, and he's getting yelled at by his co-pilots to push the button to take off. Do it now.
Which means we're okay because it's not a one-eyed, one-horn flying purple people eater.
Oh yeah, green.
Missing 2 very important aspects of that, so we're good.
Yeah, we're fine. Unfortunately, the pilot isn't good because the ship takes off, and then some shit happens and it explodes. Oops.
So cut to the 4th Doctor and Romana, who are at the top of the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
The Eiffel Tower? Yeah, why, that's in Paris.
They're having a lovely vacation in 1979 France.
Which, to talk about the witty dialogue a bit here, before we get into some stuff, I always love the bit of dialogue where the Doctor's comparing Paris to it has an ethos, a certain bouquet, like a fine wine. And Romana asks, what year is this? Well, it's 1979, actually. More of a table wine, shall we say. I just kind of love that. And they make mention of the randomizer, which we've covered 2 stories ago in Armageddon Factor. That's 2 stories from production time, not 2 stories from podcast
You know what
time.
else I can compare to a wine? this cereal.
In a way?
In the way that I'm not a big fan of it.
Oh.
You're not a wine drinker then?
No, not really.
I'm not a wine
I
drinker
like
either.
I like sweet wines, but I don't really drink all that often anyways. That's not the point though. I'm not a big fan of this cereal at all. And honestly, this part right here illustrates perfectly why. Um, do you guys remember a little cereal that we did called the Two Doctors?
Yeah.
Yeah. For some reason, I'm thinking of this, and all I'm thinking of is a lot of laughter in my direction. I can't quite remember why.
Yeah, it's funny about that. But do you remember when I said something about like part of the serial where it's it takes place in Spain, and I said a very particular phrase. Do you remember what that phrase was?
I don't recall, but please refresh us and the audience.
I said that it feels like they went to go take a vacation, but they didn't have funding for it, so they said, "Hey, let's shoot a Doctor Who episode while we're here, and that'll pay for the vacation."
Yeah.
They spend a lot of time looking at, famous Paris landmarks. They go to the Louvre, they see the Arc de Triomphe, they go to the Eiffel Tower, they visit, like several Parisian cafes, they run across the street a lot. It feels like I'm watching a Doctor Who episode crossed with a promotion for visiting Paris.
I mean, I get you. In my notes, actually, since right after this Eiffel Tower scene is a lengthy scene of what you just described.
Yeah.
I wrote, Paris glamour shots were really here, y'all. We could afford it. Look.
There are a lot of montages like that where it's just the Doctor and Romana walking along the street, or in some cases running along the streets.
On the one hand, I get what they're going for. Like, after 17 years of Doctor Who running up and down corridors, they're having him run up and down the Champs-Élysées.
Yeah, but the problem is that they don't have extras there. They have real people who do stuff like stare at the camera or stare at the actors or
real French
wonder who this crazy man is.
Yeah, and the reason why it's scary is because the show did not take off in France at this time.
So nobody knows who the fuck Tom Baker is. So there's just this guy in a huge scarf running around, and they're like, who the fuck is this? Well, they say it in French to themselves.
They say who les fuck.
Who the fuck is this?
I apologize to all our French
I do not apologize for that. That was gold. That was gold. And you know what? You know what? That accent that I just did, it's just as good as Paris is.
I just like the fact that for once, I'm not the one who's sorting the nationalities.
Fuck Paris. Paris is a garbage city.
I've never been. Listen. I've been to Quebec, so I don't know.
I've had people who I'm friends with and family with who have been to Paris. They say it's not as good as they make it seem.
And okay, but I kind of like that.
Just like this episode. Just like this episode. I kind of like that
a show like ours can have interesting and wild and diverse takes. Like, we can look at one of the worst John Pertwee story and say, oh, hey, that actually wasn't half bad. There were some funny bits. I enjoyed it. And then we can take the fifth best Doctor Who episode ever and say, like, well, it's got witty dialogue, but I mean, Paris glamour shots and shit, it's not the best.
Yeah, this is gonna sound bad, but I like the Two Doctors better. If we're comparing the glamour shots of the city.
Now that's the take.
Oof. I need the milk because that takes spicy, but I respect your takes.
This is so much Paris.
Spicy. What?
There is so much Paris in this, and it's like, I don't want Doctor Who in Paris. I want Doctor Who.
I mean, the cast probably enjoyed their free vacation.
There's no reason for this to take place in Paris. You could change this to Paris, Texas, and it'll still make just as much sense.
The cast that was allowed to go.
Well. I mean, I don't know if I can come with that fully, given the plot. Well, I guess you rearranged the plot so that the thing the villain is trying to obtain, the MacGuffin, so to speak, is different. You have to change
Yeah,
that.
it's just a different priceless artifact. They steal the Alamo. There you go.
Just the entire Alamo, they just take it.
Yes.
Why did that make me think of Pee-wee's Big Adventure? You remember anything? I remember the Alamo.
Hooray!
Why did that make me think of
The
Carmen
stars at
Sandiego?
night are big and bright.
Why did that make me think of Carmen Sandiego where she would just steal entire landmarks?
There was an animated movie about a frog who grew up. Well, a boy who gets turned into a frog and then grows up into a frog man who then becomes a secret agent trying to stop somebody who's stealing all of these different world landmarks.
That just sounds like a Netflix original.
Sounds like a Carmen Sandiego.
Funnily
plot
enough,
name.
it came out in the 90s, so you know.
So,
My argument's invalid, fair enough.
so back to City of Death and back to places that are not Paris for real, but actually a
Thank
BBC
God.
set. We have Julian Glover and the scientists.
Yeah, Professor Kerensky and Count
It's
Scarlione.
Pinky and the Brain. It's Pinky and the Brain. One is a genius, the other's
That
insane.
works so well.
Amazing.
But yeah, Count Scarlione is extremely wealthy. He's got a number of treasures, and he's trying to fund the professor's research. That we don't quite find out what's going on with the research right about now. That's for later.
There's a lovely line.
Go on.
There's a lovely line where his butler Herman is Julian Glover's trying to get him to get some more money. So it's like, we need more funding. You'll have to sell one of the Gutenbergs discreetly. Sir, sell a Gutenberg Bible discreetly?
And then he says, "Oh well, as discreetly as possible."
Given the circumstances.
You want to know something even better than that, though, Frez?
What's that?
So, at one point, while they're talking about, I think while they're talking about the Gutenberg Bible, but I can't be sure. But Scarlione also mentions that they sold a missing painting by Thomas Gainsborough.
Uh-huh.
Funnily enough, do you know what one of the working titles for this episode was?
Gamble in Time?
It's something a little bit more to do with Sephiroth.
Yeah, Curse of the Sephiroth.
Oh my God! Holy shit!
So what you're saying is Blaze Fury went back in time and wrote the episode, but it was rejected.
Oh, it gets even better than that. Later on, one of the characters tries to hit somebody with a chair.
Oh my God! You're right.
Gareth Gainsborough lives.
Peace was
This
never an
was
option.
never an option. Oh my God, we both went for it.
And now we're mirroring each other.
Fuck.
All right, meme time over.
Yeah.
Doctor Who.
Meme time over.
Meme time is never over, Kat, and you know it.
I know, but I'm
True.
trying.
Back to the plot then. So we get this nice little scene in a cafe where this artist is sketching Romana, and the doctor's like, "Don't look." I said, "Where?" And she looks, and the artist's like, "God damn it!" Just screws up the paper and throws it to the ground. And then it happens again.
What happened to our VHS tape?
Nothing. This is actually in the episode.
Oh yeah, this is actually a hiccup in time. It's caused by Kerensky's science experiment because I'm afraid we've done it again. We're doing another story where someone has invented a jank time machine in the 1970s.
Well, what are the odds of that?
Who knows?
Yeah.
But the picture that the guy was drawing is very strange. It's Romana, but her face is a cracked clock. And the doctor offhandedly mentions a crack in time when referring to the weird time slip they just experienced. Now, that stuck out to me because made me think of the first Matt Smith season that Stephen Moffat did. You remember the whole cracks in time?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
That's an interesting offhand thing. I don't know if we're gonna get any more overt sort of synchronicity with Stephen Moffat's work in the Matt Smith years or anything. I say as I gently set Mr. Chekhov's gun just on the mantle right here.
Careful that thing, it's liable to go off.
Yes. And I say, as I also lay down a copy of Back to the 11th Hour by Krista McTeer.
That's an even better than Chekhov's gun.
That might be the most subtle plug you've done for that book yet.
It's good. It's a good one.
It's available on Kindle. It's fantastic.
You've saved me how to do it in the outro, so thanks for that. But
it's a very, very good book. A very, very good book.
Yes. So anyway, back to the plot. This
So-
artist,
Never end.
funny thing about this artist, he had a much bigger role originally in the first draft of this story. His name was Bourget, and he was working for the Count.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I guess it got cut with Douglas Adams slurping down coffee.
I
Just
guess.
fucking get this guy out of here. Where's my towel?
Let's be fair. It's Douglas Adams. He was totally dipping the towel in the coffee and sucking it out of the towel.
So
That's
our
true,
two
that's
heroes
true.
now rush to the Louvre, so we get more outside shots of Paris.
Can I just say, well, before that, we need a little context. But before that, can I just say, Douglas Adams frantically working to get the script done at the very last minute for Doctor Who is just emblematic of his career.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you missed the point there, Rainiac, where that Romana offhandedly mentions with the whole weird picture, Gallifrey does art by computers, and the Doctor's horrified by this and is basically like, art by computers? You need to see some real cultured art. Come with me. And he takes her to the Louvre.
What
And
is this
shows him-
digital art bullshit? There's no way that digital art will ever be, better than painting a picture. Oh,
And Doctor Who accidentally predicted NFTs.
Oh God.
No, Doctor Who review says NFTs are bullshit. Don't buy into them. They're a scam.
All I'm thinking of now, all I can think of now is those piracy anti-piracy efforts for the 2000s, like you wouldn't steal a car, you wouldn't steal a DVD, you wouldn't screenshot
you wouldn't
an NFT.
download an artwork.
God.
You wouldn't screenshot an NFT.
Actually, no. Everybody buy into NFTs because now I'm going to put out my own one that's just like a pink line drawn across a page.
God.
One of a kind, people.
My
One of a
favourite
kind.
one was the annoying orange video in 4K, and they claimed that there was only one copy of this video in 4K, so the lucky owner would be the only person in the world to own it, and everyone just download it off the website.
It's even better. The auction site fucked up, and you can just like inspect element, get the download link.
Everyone just download it off the auction website.
NFTs.
I have a question. Who would want that?
I don't know.
It's
I
the
really
annoying
don't
orange.
know.
Who would want that?
Jerks.
I mean, if I wanted to watch the annoying orange, I would just go back and watch some images of Trump.
Oh my God.
Holy fuck! Can we
Boom.
talk about the Mona Lisa?
Yeah, but the thing
Yeah.
about NFTs, it's going to end when Banksy creates one that just installs a virus on your hard drive.
I
It
mean,
deletes itself as soon as you open it.
I mean, can I really fault the guy for that? Because NFTs are bullshit.
If it is a guy, we still don't know, but
Can I really fault the individual known as Banksy for that?
yeah, fair enough. So anyway, we get more outside shots of Paris, and then they rush to the Louvre. The Doctor has a funny turn.
Well, we're jumping ahead. We're jumping past all the funny lines.
He annoys a woman that's leading a tour of the Louvre.
I love the bit where Romana, just upon looking at the Mona Lisa, and the Doctor's proclaiming this one of the greatest paintings in the universe, and she's like, "Why hasn't she gotten the eyebrows? It's one of the greatest paintings I've ever." You're right. Why doesn't she have any eyebrows? It's weird. But as you said, there's another experiment with time. There's another hiccup in time, and Tom Baker takes a funny turn.
And he
First-
falls onto a bench where there is a woman sitting there. Thankfully, he doesn't fall onto her lap face first. That would be very awkward.
He
You
also
just kind
bumps
of fall
into
into
a,
her.
he also bumps into a guy, presumably security guard, because he says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I bumped my head against your gun there."
And of course, the guy's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And the Doctor's pointing like, no, it's right there. It's literally right there.
Yeah. Anyway, the
So-
Doctor pretends he's all right and rushes out the Louvre with Romana. The mysterious stranger following behind them.
Interesting.
Just a guy in a trench
And then,
coat at this stage.
oddly enough, the lady who's on the bench also nods to somebody to follow them.
Yeah, strange that.
As it turns out, she is in league with the Count Scarleone. She's the Countess Scarleone.
Yeah, she's his wife.
And they have a chat for a bit. She mentions the whole incident. He's bemused at first, but when she mentions that the doctor stole her bracelet, suddenly the Count is very concerned. How could you let this idiot steal the bracelet? So they send out some hired goons to go get it back.
Yeah, you've jumped ahead a bit now. So yeah, the Doctor and Romana are sitting outside in a cafe, and Romana finds the
This
bracelet
is
in her
after a
pocket.
lovely montage where they go through Paris while being followed by the same guy.
Which,
Yeah.
hey, look, we're in Paris, everybody. Ooh,
Outside shots of France, take a drink, and
Yep.
get them bingo cards out.
Romana pulls the bracelet out of her pocket. It's like, "What's this?" It's, "Oh, I took it off that woman in the Louvre." And is it, what is that? What I think it is? Yes, it's a micro meson scanner, and she was using it to scan the alarms at the Louvre.
And also, this is alien technology, so something's afoot.
A little too advanced for the 70s.
And the doctor gets a wonderful line. He's like, "Romana, the oddest things just happened. You remember that man at the Louvre? Well, he's standing behind me, pointing a gun at my back."
So the stranger is Duggan. His name is Duggan.
Yes,
Best
he's an
character
English
on the show.
detective. Best character
Yeah, he
by
is the
far.
best character in this story by a mile.
But either way, that little bit happens with the Countess talking to the Count, and she's telling him about the fact that she lost the bracelet, so they send out their goons. And then it cuts back to Duggan with the doctor and Romana sitting in the cafe with guns pointed at their heads by these thugs.
Yeah. They relieve the trio of the bracelet. They go back to Scarleone, and the cat's like, "Very good, thank you. You may leave us." And then he turns to his butler and says, "But not good enough. Kill them." What, the three in the cafe? No, those two idiots.
Fun fact:
He's
2
just
years after
happy
the
to do
story, 2 years after the story, Julian Glover played a James Bond villain.
Yeah. And then the same year, Star Wars villain.
Well, a year later. This is
So he's
79.
not typecast at all.
Also, we've done it again. This is the third time in a row we've done a story with a villain from Empire Strikes Back.
Oh,
Michael Sheridan remembers the Daleks, David Prowse in the Time Monster, Julian Glover in this.
Oh. We have a
But yeah,
running
that was
theme going
1980.
on.
And then 1981 is the Bond movie he's in, For Your Eyes Only, which is an underrated Bond movie. I think. Would you call it underrated, Rain? You're a Bond.
What, For Your Eyes Only? It's one of Moore's best, so yeah.
I call it underrated. Most people would say For Your Eyes Only, or not For Your Eyes Only, but Spy Who Loved Me. Blech.
Yeah, Trailer is considered to be the best Roger Moore Bond.
I'm just going to blindly agree with you both and move on by saying that obviously Duggan is not okay with the fact that he had a gun pointed at his head, and he actually thinks that the doctor and Romana staged this whole thing, and that they were the ones who were hired in order to, get the bracelet away and make him think that they're fine. And there's this wonderful little line where the doctor's like, "I don't know if you noticed, but he was pointing a gun at me. If anyone in my employ behaved like that, I'd sack him on the spot."
The dialogue of this sparkles throughout. It really does.
It's
really
easily
does.
the highlight of the show.
Yes. And
Anyway,
so, Duggan's like, well, you obviously are idiots, you don't know anything, and the doctor pipes up with, "We know someone's going to try and steal the Mona Lisa," and that gets Duggan to sit down and listen to them.
yeah.
We also
Trust
find
him a
out
bit.
that Scarleone has been selling priceless art treasures on the black market, I guess.
Yeah.
And they're very, very good forgeries. Like, they stand up to every forensic test, and they seem for all the world like they're authentic, even though
Yeah.
they.
And Duggan even points out that if they manage to actually steal the Mona Lisa, there's at least 7 people who would buy it, despite the fact that they would never be able to tell anybody that they have the Mona Lisa because obviously it was stolen.
This will come up later, but the end of part 1 is, well, it's a little contrived, but also there's a mirror, so I can forgive it.
Oh,
Of course.
So Scarleone is in his basement lab, and the Countess is knocking on the locked door, just wondering where he is. And he's looking in the mirror. He reaches up to his face. He tugs at his face, and it's a mask, and it comes off, and it's that green one-eyed eyeball alien.
Shock and horror. He's not dead. What is going on?
Now, a lot of people have criticized this cliffhanger for the fact that Scarleone takes his face off for no reason, for the sake of having a cliffhanger. But
I'm sorry, the way you said that, it just reminded me of Nick Cage in Face Off going, I want to take his face off.
Now, people criticize this for being a little goofy, but I think you'll agree that given the state of the world right now, we can sympathize with the fact that once he gets safely in his house and is alone, all he wants to do is take that goddamn mask off and breathe.
You went there.
Well, maybe if more people would be like him, then we would be, in a better place right now. So everybody, please be more like Scarleone. Only take your mask off whenever you're alone inside your own abode.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we go straight
or
from
with people in your bubble.
We go straight from that cliffhanger to the beginning of part 2 then. So the Doctor, Romana and Duggan have been accosted at the cafe by a different set of thugs because the previous ones are dead, courtesy of Herman, a man who really loves his work. And
we love him when he does his work.
Yeah, Herman's not bad. Well, he is bad. Obviously, he's a villain, but
he's honestly a terrible character in context of the story, but he's also kind of funny.
He is, and he gets a great moment here because the trio are taken to the chateau to meet with the Countess. And Tom Baker, sorry, I've done what I called by his actor name instead of the character. The Doctor gets shoved in the back by Herman, and Tom Baker just goes flying forward. He just takes a perfect pratfall, gets up, grins at the Countess, says, "I say, what a wonderful butler. He's so violent."
This scene is just Tom Baker spouting witty dialogue for like 3 minutes, and it's beautiful. It's wonderful.
It's perfect.
It's absolutely great. The gist of the scene is that he's trying to convince the Countess that he and Romana are thieves and Duggan has caught them, and that they just stole her bracelet because it's pretty. And when the Countess says that I thought that this man was trailing me, the Doctor just replies, "Oh, well, you're a beautiful woman, probably. He probably just wanted to ask you out for dinner." Just, you're a beautiful woman, probably.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Some fans have taken offence to that line, saying, well, does this imply that the Doctor shouldn't or doesn't find his companions attractive? Because if he doesn't, then my God, they fixed that in the modern series, didn't they?
Yeah,
they sure did. There's more great dialogue once the Count comes in and talks about the bracelet, where the Count and Countess just having this side. The Countess is just like, my dear, I don't think he's as stupid as he seems. And the Count's reply is, my dear, nobody could be as stupid as he seems. It's so good.
It is. This whole scene is just brilliant because the Doctor's like taking charge. He dismisses the butler. He pours himself and his friends drinks, and he's like, "Well, I'm a thief. Romana's my accomplice, and Duggan's the detective that was good enough to catch us."
Our two lines of work dovetail together perfectly.
Yeah,
he just commands the scene. It's beautiful.
Does. Which it is with Gillian Glover in it. It's not easy to do because
this is true. But either way, Romana's sitting on the couch and she picks up this puzzle box, and the Countess is like, "No, put that down. You'll never solve it. It'll take you ages." She does it in 3 seconds.
Yeah, and then smiles.
And inside is the bracelet, so she takes it out, and the Count takes it from her, and starts asking them questions, and he says that, "You know what? We're done with this interview. Let's go ahead and put you guys downstairs in the cellar." And of course, everybody takes offense to that, but they go with it because they have to.
This is
Although
also where
Duggan doesn't quite go along with it because he immediately picks up a chair and tries to beat him with it.
and Tom Baker's line is just, Duggan, for heaven's sake, what are you doing? Let's only weekends.
Oh, jeez.
So they
So
do
they
get
just-
locked in the cellar, unfortunately, with a lamp that gives
Yep.
them up to 3 hours of light. The Doctor is not particularly bothered because he's like, well, we'll just escape when they're not expecting us to. So while that's going on, Romana shows her gimmick where she can make mathematical calculations in her head like in a second. And she lays out the exact dimensions of the room they're in, and it's all very impressive. The Doctor is not paying attention in the slightest because he's trying to get through the door. He uses the sonic because it's pre-1982 before the visitation. It doesn't work because it doesn't work on wood. Was it not working on wood a thing in the?
I don't really know. I think that's more a modern era joke.
Okay. Well, anyway,
To be fair, the lock isn't wood. The lock is metal, so I don't think
And
that applies here.
Duggan just takes the sonic and smashes it against the door.
Because of maintenance. Because guess what? It works
Yeah,
now.
it works.
This is a running theme with Duggan because he is a very physical person.
Oh,
and he's
yes.
always ready to punch somebody or shoot somebody or hit somebody with something.
He even
It's
told
With
us
fantastic.
hilarious
when he first
results.
knew that.
And the Doctor's like always done with him. It's fantastic.
The thing Romana's worked out is that the cellar is smaller than the length of the stairs that are right next to them.
Yep.
So there's clearly something going on there. But in the meantime,
Who cares about that? There's a lab right there.
And we can investigate it and watch as Professor Kerensky comes back from his nap and does chicken science.
Yeah.
Oh, that poor man. I feel so sorry for this professor. He
Yeah.
deserves so much better.
He's not a bad guy.
He's being
No.
used by the bad guy.
He is an innocent in all this.
Yeah.
All he wanted to do was invent like time travel age.
He wanted a
manipulation.
system where he could age up farm animals so that they could have enough food to feed the world and get rid of famine.
He
Yes,
wants to
thank
benefit
you.
the world. That's a very noble goal.
Unfortunately,
Too bad it doesn't
unfortunately, though, his experiment isn't really working as intended per se because he's able to create a stable time bubble that can age an egg to a chicken instantly, but it's in a separate time field and you can't interact with it in any way. So
And then it goes
that's gonna
horribly
be.
wrong and ages to a skeleton.
But luckily, the Doctor's here and he reverses the polarity, which is a classic Doctor Who trick, and the skeleton reverts back into a chicken and back into an egg.
And we finally have the answer to the age-old joke. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Neither. It was a skeleton.
We also see the eyeball alien in the time bubble, which is odd, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a little weird.
But we're with the professor. He can shed some light on what Count Scarleone's plotting. So all you do is ask him, and Duggan has knocked him out.
Here he comes to kick some ass.
Here he
Doctor's-
comes to not save the day.
The Doctor's pretty mad at him for that. It's like, what'd you do that for?
Yeah, and he sums up Duggan in one line of dialogue. That's your philosophy, isn't it? If it moves, hit it.
It's not wrong.
Yeah, Duggan agrees with him. That's the great thing.
Well,
But-
Romana, meanwhile, has found that there's old brickwork in the cellar, and there's obviously a secret room behind there. And while they're working on that, we get Count Scarleone in the holodeck explaining how they're going to steal the Mona Lisa.
I love this scene.
He's taking a VR tour of the Louvre.
I love this scene. So they're playing the
It is an
heist
interesting scene.
by basically recreating the heist virtually, and they're going to use a sonic knife to cut the glass, and then there's these laser beams that are never turned off. So he uses some prismatic refractor or something.
Is refraction close enough for me to say it?
Oh, go on.
Yeah.
Doctor Who mirror alert! Whoop, 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 whoop.
We'll give you that one.
I don't care at this point.
Yeah. At
We've
last,
broken him.
I've
Finally.
broken him.
But they, you sound so happy about it. They use it to move the the lasers away from the painting and steal it. So that's what they're going to do in the real thing. But back in the cellar then, they're like, well, this brickwork is 400 or 500 years old. How are we going to get through it? Well, thankfully, here comes the Juggernaut. And the Juggernaut breaks right through his elbow.
And this is where the story gets another turn to it that's just like, what the fuck is going on? Because behind this cellar, in this area, which has been bricked up for 450 years, let's say, is a series of cupboards. 6 cupboards. And behind every single one of them is a Mona Lisa. And they're immaculate. Perfect in every way. The Doctor even recognizes Da Vinci's brushwork.
And the paint that he used, too.
So that adds another layer to what in the holy fuck is going on. And they wonder, why the hell would a guy who has 6 Mona Lisas in his basement bother to steal a 7th Mona Lisa from the Louvre? But Duggan comes up with the answer to that question.
There were 7 prospective buyers for the Mona Lisa. So if you take it from the Louvre, you have 7 Mona Lisas to sell to people who will never talk about them.
You obviously can't talk about them because the moment you say, hey, look, everybody, I've got the Mona Lisa, you are going to get arrested.
Yeah.
Yes, plus then you'll have 6 other people being like, wait, I have the Mona Lisa. Huh.
Yes. So it's, as Duggan says, it'd be a gloat, but an expensive gloat.
Yeah.
But there'd be people willing to do it. I mean,
yeah.
They just keep it in their like private collection and admire it from afar. Just the idea of owning a priceless work of art like the Mona Lisa, I can see how that would be appealing to a black market.
Look, I once saw people praising a bit of art, which was just somebody took a banana peel and taped it to a wall. And it wasn't actually art. They just did that to make fun of those people. So people really will buy anything.
I mean, I get the piss take, but also they did technically create art by doing that.
There was a hole in the floor of the Turner gallery once, and people thought that was an exhibit.
Somebody dropped their glasses on the floor, and people thought that was an exhibit. And then in a reversal of this, someone used a bunch of garbage to make art, and a maid or whoever who worked at the gallery cleaned it up.
Art's weird, y'all.
Yeah.
Anyway,
fine art is weird. Fine art is weird.
The Count catches our trio in the act. He's not been about this, but before anything can really happen, he's questioning the Doctor.
He's Duggan.
Yeah, there's another great line where he's just the Doctor. Can you throw any light on that? Duggan says, I can, and throws the lamp at him.
He just gets Duggan.
Polly approved.
And then, having thrown the lamp at him, knocks him out cold with a punch.
Can we make this our new adjective for things? It got Dugganed.
So when something gets smashed in a Doctor Who, it's like, okay, so they totally Dugganed.
I'm down with that.
Right.
Well, science won't work. We better Duggan it.
Anyway, speaking of Dugganing things, Duggan then Duggans the Countess. With a priceless big vase.
Which the Doctor is not impressed by.
But, I mean, in his defense, the Countess was trying to shoot them.
Yeah.
So, the trio splits up here. Duggan and Romana are going to the Louvre to try and stop the heist, while the Doctor's going back to the TARDIS to nip back and see Leonardo da Vinci and figure out what the hell's going on with those Mona Lisas.
Tease me by showing K9 in there.
Well, they don't show K9, they just mention K9.
Well, yeah, they mention K9. Sir not appearing in this film, you know.
You know, Kat, it's funny, but for this season of Doctor Who, John Leeson wasn't K9. It had a different voice actor. If we ever do one of the 4 or 5 other stories, you'll probably hear him.
You know, I'm suddenly okay with the fact that he wasn't in the episode.
But
anyway, Italy.
Hashtag not my robot dog.
This leads us to the end of part 2, which is another real head scratcher of what the fuck is going on. Certainly, I remember that the first time I watched City of Death. But so the Doctor shows up in Leonardo's studio in the TARDIS. and is calling out for the guy. And he's got a great bit of dialogue where he's like, I'm here to talk to you about the Mona Lisa. Remember the Mona Lisa? That dreadful woman with no eyebrows who wouldn't sit still? And he encounters a guard in the studio. And the guard holds him at sword point and says, who are you? What are you doing here? We'll have to have Captain Tancredi question you.
It's really funny, too, because the doctor's like, not Captain, now you got me doing it. Not Captain Tancredi. And the guard's like, so you know him. And the doctor's like, no, not at all.
And then the door opens and Captain Tancredi comes in, and it's the shock reveal as the doctor says, what are you doing here? And as the captain walks in and says, I think that's the question I should be asking you, Doctor. We see that Captain Tancredi is Julian Glover.
In a wig.
With a twist.
It's a great cliffhanger.
Dun, dun, dun.
As you say, this is where the story really takes the turn for what the hell is going on here?
It goes full gonzo.
And we like gonzo here on this show.
We do.
It's like a half gonzo. It's not quite full gonzo.
There's been much more gonzo. But anyway,
actually, you know what? It's a good thing that this starts to go gonzo because there were chickens earlier in the episode.
Camilla, why?
That's a good one. So episode 3.
Yeah, episode 3. Ramona and Duggan go to the Louvre on Doctor's instructions. They're too late. The paintings have been stolen. There's a guard out on the floor, unconscious.
And Duggan is the smartest man in the room. He looks at the laser guarded spot where the painting once was, and it's like, I don't understand. There's a laser grid. How could they have gotten through it? As he says this, he puts his hand through it, and all the alarms sound.
Yep. So he turns to Ramona and says, hey, you see that window over there? And Ramona says, yes. And then he just yeets himself through the window.
He defenestrates himself right through that fucking window.
I love the word defenestrate.
You don't get to use it properly often.
No, it's such a good word.
No, not really. But also,
So,
I like to say yeet because I am a 30-year-old person and it makes all the kids cringe.
I mean, yeet's okay, but it's not a patch on defenestration. But anyway.
True.
They get out of there then. I should point out at this stage that we've kind of been avoiding it, but Ramona's choice of wardrobe for this serial is rather interesting. She is wearing full school uniform. And the reason...
Gone full Madeline.
Yeah, she did. And the reason why she went full Madeline is rather interesting. So, allegedly, they were going to dress her in a silver catsuit for this serial.
Classy.
Quite classy.
And Lola Ward said, no, I'm not doing that. It objectifies me. I'm going to go for
As
the
she
uniform
should.
instead because, children hate wearing it. And maybe if they find a character that's cool and she wears it, they might, be inspired by it. Didn't occur to
Nice.
Too bad nobody cool actually wore the outfit.
Didn't occur to Lola Ward that dads might take a look at the episode and go, oh, cool, school uniform, and still be turned on by it anyway.
Yeah.
You tried, Lola Ward, you tried.
Yeah.
You tried,
like-
but you couldn't escape the objective.
You're still in the 70s, so you still have that innocent time, but trust me, Japan will later on make a killing out of people in school uniforms.
Oh, no.
And also kill a whole lot of people in school uniforms.
Oh, God.
My favourite thing about that is I can't tell if it's Battle Royale or Danganronpa. I think the correct answer is yes.
Yes.
Either way, they're a thing now, and they're never going away. They even got to the point where the school uniforms are now a character themselves, so...
Yeah.
Good God.
Yeah, she's right. Anyway, back in Florence, 1505, which is where Captain Tancredi is, and simultaneously back in the Count's chateau, Kerensky wakes up from his little enforced power nap to find the Count still out on the floor,
And 6 Mona Lisas.
And 6 Mona Lisas. So he's obviously quite disturbed by this. But then the Count starts talking while he's unconscious, and while he's talking, so is Captain Tancredi.
Saying the same shit. They're linked.
The plot
And
thickens.
the reason they're linked is we get everyone's favorite. It's exposition time.
Oh boy.
Yay.
So the Count, Scarleone / Tancredi, is actually a character named Scaroth, who is the last of an alien race called the Jaggeroth. Now, the Doctor knows the Jaggeroth by reputation. They all destroyed themselves in some war a long, long time ago. And
Like
the
400
last of them
million years.
were, and the last of them landed here on Earth. And when they tried to take off again, spaceship go boom. But the warp engines went, and this somehow fractured Scaroth all throughout time, creating little splinters of himself. And I think this is where we got to go full ham. The bullshit, because another thing that we find out later in the episode is that these splinters of Scaroth have been manipulating human history from the sidelines for their own ends, such that the society will advance and technology will be invented, all for Scaroth's own needs.
Huh, that sounds familiar for some reason.
It sounds familiar because this is Moffat's latter two Matt Smith year season arcs. Aliens manipulating human history for their own ends is just the silence, and someone being splintered all throughout time is just the resolution of the Impossible Girl arc. And Stephen Moffat is the kind of Doctor Who fan who would love the fuck out of City of Death, so there's no way he hasn't seen it.
So what you're saying is Moffat even steals from old Doctor Who better than Chibnall.
It wouldn't be a podcast without getting a Chibnall dunk in there, would it?
I kind of feel like at this point we could write a song about the ways that Moffat's better than Chibnall in the tune of Gaston.
Gaston. I was thinking we could do it more along We Didn't Start the Fire.
That is true. That could also work.
I love how you've come up with those two ideas by yourself and not consulted me in the slightest. Thank you for that.
It's okay. We'll have you do all the work like we usually do.
Oh, the sad thing is you're not wrong.
Anyways.
Yeah, so Tancredi is not satisfied with the Doctor's answers to his questions, so he leaves to get some torture implements. So the Doctor gets chatting to the soldier, and we get this again, some great dialogue. And he says, "Your boss, he's a bit weird, isn't he? You know, you believe any of that? Last of the Jaggeroth, 12 fractures. He says, I'm paid to fight, not to think."
He also mentions, but really, I mean, spaceships, fractures of time. You really believe any of that? When you work for the Borgias, you'll believe anything. And we should also, it's implicit at this point, but we should also mention that part of what Scaroth is doing here is Tancredi in 1505 is making Leonardo da Vinci paint extra Mona Lisas so that in 1979, Scarleone can sell them for profit.
Before we go too far, Frez, would you like to know another deep dive back into the whole Gainsborough-Sephiroth thing?
Oh, God, what?
So the guard dude mentions that he used to work for the Borgias.
Uh-huh.
A very notable one was named Lucrezia, like Sephiroth's mother.
Oh, for God's sakes!
like who's?
Jeez.
Blaze, get out of our Doctor Who. Shoo.
I don't even know if I've seen if he's seen this one before, but he'd like it.
Completely in my head, hasn't it? Anyway.
Anyway, the Doctor trying to get out of this is funny. He basically pulls out a Polaroid camera and takes a picture of the guard before sucker punching him.
Doesn't work, sadly, but you know.
Well,
it works for a bit.
It works for a bit until Tancredi comes back, but
yeah, he has enough time to, go ahead and he grabs all the canvases and he writes this as a fake on them, and then he takes a note and he writes on it to Da Vinci saying, "I know I messed up your canvases. Go ahead and paint on them. Just trust me on this." And I think you noticed something about this, Frez.
Oh, you better notice something. He wrote it backwards such that the message can only be deciphered by using a mirror. That's a Doctor Who mirror alert. Whoop, 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 whoop.
It's all right, Nick. Soon the pain will end.
I was just waiting for the soundboard. It never came. But
also, this is like an actual thing Da Vinci did.
yeah,
Yeah.
his mirror code.
Mirror code. I'm a Da Vinci fan now.
I mean,
That's
I'm
the
surprised
rules.
Dan Brown hasn't written about this, to be honest with you.
He's too busy. He's too busy making
might
up
have.
bullshit.
I actually read the Angels, Demons, whatever book it was, the Da Vinci Code, so he might have. I just don't remember it.
He might
By
have.
the way, Tancredi comes back and he's got some thumb screws with him, and yeah, he's not happy about his guard.
No.
So before we deal with that, back in 1979, Romana and Duggan head into the cafe, and
Closed
they
cafe
headed.
that they break into.
Well,
Literally, in
and by
Duggan's
break
case.
into, I mean Duggan smashes the window. Romana gets a great line about how he should go into business with a glazier. They'd make millions.
They'd
And,
make
you
a
know-
killing for sure, yeah.
And well, and to demonstrate that he's not just a brute who smashes everything, Duggan takes a wine bottle and carefully opens it by smashing the goddamn neck on the counter and then pouring it into a wine glass.
A
And the
rosé
best thing
and
is,
some glass.
somehow he does it in a way that the wine still pours out perfectly. It doesn't spill everywhere.
He's a perfect decanter. What can I say?
He takes just enough of the neck of the bottle off to pour it out perfectly. I love that. While that's going on, then Kerensky is being threatened by the Count.
And the Count wants him to use to make a mass scale version of the opposite of what Kerensky was trying to do.
Yeah.
And when Kerensky objects on moral and financial grounds that it would take so much money to do this, Herman busts in and says, "We've got the Mona Lisa. We've got the Mona Lisa. Excellent. How much would that sell for, Herman? $100 million."
Da 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 da.
Oh, jeez.
I've been
I
waiting
need
for
to watch
all
this
night.
again.
All night.
Julian Glover even gets a good evil laugh at this.
Oh, he gets a fantastic evil laugh.
And he's basically like, "Continue the work, Professor, or you will die."
Yeah. So that's the scheme. They're gonna sell all 7 of the Mona Lisas to 7 different buyers, none of whom know that they haven't got the real one.
And
make
$700 million.
A boatload
Hey, that's
of money in the process to work.
that'll be enough to fund the time travel bullshit.
Yeah.
But quite why he needs the time travel, well, we'll find out in a moment. But
Yeah.
unfortunately for Scarleone, his other selves start having a bit of a freak out.
Well, before this, Tom Baker's being tortured.
Oh, this
With
is
cold
amazing!
hands.
This is amazing. He's got the thumb screws on. The guard goes through. He's like, "Ah, I haven't started yet, but you've got cold hands. I can't stand being tortured by someone with cold hands. I'll tell you everything you want to know."
Yeah.
Yeah, so he reveals that he's a Time Lord, and, Tancredi asks about Romana. And, the Doctor's trying to stall, and this is about where the whole freak out starts to happen with
Yeah.
Tancredi.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
It happens with both the Count and Tancredi again simultaneously. So the Count's with his wife, and he starts having a funny turn. And Tancredi's there and about to torture or see the Doctor being tortured. And then he has the same funny turn. And we get this really neat layering effect where it's like Julian Glover and then the Scar-off mask together.
Yeah.
And I can't really do it justice talking about it, but it's a really neat visual effect, especially for 1979.
You've got it on
yeah.
screen right now.
I will. He starts ranting about the centuries that divide me shall be undone. And while that's going on, the Doctor escapes from Florence. He puts the thumb screws on the guard's sword. The guard's
So
just
good.
watching this gog like, what the fuck is going on? So he just
So he heads
in
back.
confusion, and he heads off back to Paris, 1979.
It's just
back in
unfortunately
there.
now Scarleone knows that they can time travel because he sees the TARDIS dematerialize.
Yes.
And also the Doctor. But Romana and Duggan, meanwhile, Romana's actually very close to figuring out Scar's scheme here, and she decides, that they need to go back to the chateau and figure out what the fuck's going on.
Where Duncan can thump somebody.
Which is great because once Tom Baker gets back there after lengthy running through Paris footage, he's back at the cafe and it's open. He's just like, where are Romana and Duggan? Surely they couldn't have been so stupid as to go back to the chateau. And the guy in front hands him a note. Dear Doctor, Duggan and I have gone back to the chateau.
And immediately captured. Also,
Captured.
Tom Chadbon gets a great facial expression here where Romana is like rattling off jargon about time. and Duggan's face is just like, yes, what's going on?
I understand perfectly. But now that they're captured, they're down in the basement. And Scarleone knows that Romana knows shit about time travel, so he decides to give her an example. Oh, hey, Kerensky, could you examine the time field generator there for a second, please? And now I'll show you how I deal with fools!
No, not that switch.
Oh,
And he pulls the switch and ages Kerensky to death in an instant.
This poor man.
End part 3.
It's even worse for Kerensky, though, because for the viewers at home and for the characters in the episode, his death, where he ages to a skeleton, lasts about 10 seconds?
Something like that, yeah.
In the novelization, they mentioned that for Kerensky, it lasted 6 decades.
Jesus Christ, how horrifying.
And he could do nothing about it, and he spent the time musing about his life, his experiments, and the Count.
Jesus.
That is just...
So part
horrific.
4.
Yeah.
Part 4 starts up where Romana is obviously not happy about the fact that, the guy just killed somebody. So he pretends not to care about humans or Paris or anything like this. So Scarleone's like, okay, kill Duggan. And, that gets her to start helping. And he also kind of appeals to her softer side by saying, all I want to do is go back in time and stop the event that killed my entire race. That's it. And that's all he explains to her. And that's going to be important later on.
Yeah.
Yeah. He does mention that all 12 of them have been pushing humanity forward, so even this level of technology in 1979 would be available to the latest one to mess around with and try to solve the problem.
Yeah. So the problem he wants solving is he wants the time field stabilized by Romana. While that's going on, Tom Baker just breaks into the chateau.
That's a maid to get the Count for him.
He wants to speak to the
Countess,
Countess actually
instead.
at first. Yeah, the Countess.
Yeah.
It's interesting. He quotes Shakespeare, to which the Countess goes to her secret vault of priceless treasures and pulls out the first draft of Hamlet. And the doctor's like, oh, wow, yeah, this is genuine, all right. I recognize the handwriting. Shakespeare's? No, mine. He sprained his wrist while he was writing sonnets. I finished it for him.
That's very Tennant-esque.
It is. Try squaring the other way with the Shakespeare code. You'll get a headache.
No.
It becomes apparent then that the Countess doesn't really know her husband that well at all, actually.
No.
And she finds it different. She starts laughing at the doctor, but it's clear that he's actually getting through to her. And once the doctor has been sent down to the lab to be with the Count...
He does mention, by the way, a green one-eyed alien.
He does, and that's important because she goes to her box of treasures and pulls out this papyrus scroll from Egypt, and it unrolls into the Egyptian gods, and at the end, Scarlet Sack.
No, I'm sorry, Kat just won out there.
I know she did. As soon as it's papyrus, I realised.
So the doctor is taken downstairs, and Romana's busy building something, and he immediately says, you better be making a Gallifreyan egg timer, because if you're making a stabilizer for a time machine, I'm going to be really mad.
Oops.
Yeah, problem.
Yeah.
The doctor gives the Count a warning, which again is very Tennant-esque. You get one warning, just one. The Count's not buying it.
No.
Fuck it, I got a time field generator. I'm going back in time.
So he doesn't need the doctor anymore. He just needs to go and carry out his mission. And Romana seems to be going along with the mission. So I thought, when I was watching this, is this a plan or is she being naive?
She's being naive, sadly.
It's a little of both, I
it's
think.
a little column A and a little column B. But They get locked in the cellar again.
And before he's going to go, he's going to say goodbye to the Countess.
Oh, he's going to say goodbye, all right.
Yeah.
Via 40,000 volts.
And by goodbye, as soon as he comes in, she's holding a gun at him. And like, what are you? So he helpfully pulls off his mask and reveals that he's an alien. And also, that bracelet he had wired to electrify a motherfucker. So he shocks the shit out of her and she's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he is actually genuinely sorry that she had to die. But, you know, essentially what's going to happen is that he's going to accidentally, well, maybe sort of on purpose, cause the end of the human race. So it doesn't really matter that she's dead now.
The Doctor and Skaroth actually have a little bit of discussion about this, where Skaroth threatens all of Paris if they don't cooperate. And the Doctor's just like, well, that's not going to work because I know what's going to happen if you actually succeed. And Skaroth's like, yeah, I know what's going to happen too. And I don't care one bit.
Yep. Basically, the dolphins currently are jumping off the planet and saying so long and thanks for all the fish.
Very relevant, considering.
Very good.
Oh, God.
I haven't recovered from papyrus yet. Just give me a moment.
What would you guys do without me?
I mean, even on the grounds it may incriminate me.
Even setting aside the fact that Skaroth being splintered created the human race and human society as we know it in 1979 and beforehand, even setting aside that undoing his destruction would undo all of that, there's another big reason why undoing the ship blowing up will undo all of humanity that we'll get to in a bit. But for now, Skaroth is heading off back to the past to stop himself. And he's also set the time generator to self-destruct so that the Doctor can't track it and follow him.
Yeah. So, like, thankfully, Romana put on a thing where essentially Skaroth will come back in about 2 minutes' time, but all he needs is 1 minute to be able to do what he needs to. So they decide that they need to get out of there, and there's only one thing that could possibly get them out there, and it's Duggan.
Beautiful.
And get them out he does. He barges through the door. It opens rather easily, but he barges through the door nonetheless.
And so now we get... It's a race against time to get back to the TARDIS and somehow track the remnant of the time distortion back to 400 million years in the past to stop them. So it's a race against time, and we represent this not by running up and down corridors, but of course by running up and down the streets of Paris.
Yeah, and this is one of those scenes that just threw me off because it's like, okay, we get it. You're running through the streets of Paris. Can you maybe, hurry this up a little bit, please? Thank you.
Yeah, given that time's of the essence and all that. Anyway, before we get to the big conclusion of the story, we get a neat little double cameo here.
Oh, this is nice.
This is very nice.
Yeah, Eleanor Bron, who we saw in Revelation of the Daleks as the villainess, and John Cleese, no less, are in an art gallery admiring some art, but the art they're admiring is the TARDIS.
This is lovely. It's just, the critique is just, it does not belong here, but the purpose of the art is that it doesn't belong here. That's the meaning of the
sublime colors of the redundant art.
Yes.
And then the Doctor, Duggan, and Romana hop on in.
Yeah, they run into it and it disappears, and they don't change their tune. Like, exquisite. Absolutely exquisite. Something hits John Cleese with his scarf, or appears to nearly do it anyway. And Romana as he runs into the TARDIS, so that's great.
So good.
Oh, fantastic. But now they're 400 million years in the past.
Yeah.
There's another great line.
In the Atlantic Ocean, where all the dolphins will leave in the future.
There's wonderful wordplay here from Douglas Adams. So, they mentioned to Duggan that he's standing where the Atlantic Ocean will be in 400 million years' time. And then Romana says he's out of his depth.
And we also see the primordial ooze, which will eventually become human life. Not even human life, just
fluid.
Yeah, amniotic fluid, just like cellular life on planet Earth.
Yeah.
the building blocks. And also, what caused it was a massive radiation surge from an alien warp engine exploding.
Wow, what a coinky dink. Oh,
So,
look, there's Skaro.
Oh, look, there's
Skaroth.
There's Skaroth, and he's like, don't push the button, guys, don't push the button. So how are we going to stop Skaroth from convincing his past self not to push the button?
Tell you what, I've got a beautiful product here. It'll stop that Skaroth in 1 second, and it's called Duggan.
Yeah, this is just perfect.
So rather than like reason, debate, or whatever, or technobabble or a technological solution to stop Skaroth from doing this shit, Duggan just punches him in the goddamn head.
Yeah, Duggan just goes, Falcon, punch!
And knocks him the fuck out. Well, that does it. And Tom Baker's honestly impressed.
Yeah, the only time he's impressed that he's not somebody else, he goes, Duggan, I think that was the most important punch in history.
Also, I'm not going to make the Duggan thing an actual thing, so it will be shelved along with motherfucking Santa, just letting you guys know.
Oh, don't worry, Kat. There's one time it is going to come back. I'm not going to say when, but it will return.
It will.
I know. I don't know if you know it yet. I'll tell you later.
I don't know it, so
I'll tell you later. Not on the show.
I think I know. But Scaro's plan has been foiled. He returns to the chateau, but of course he can just try again, can't he? Because we just go about 2 minutes into the future. Well, no, because here's Herman.
Oh no! Yeah.
Here's Herman.
Even worse, he exploded his machine.
Yeah, Herman's down here, and he turns around and he sees a fucking alien in the time machine, and he's like, "Ah, kill it!" And he throws something into there, and like causes like I don't know, like a antimatter explosion or some shit.
At the field generator, Esco's saying, "No, Herman, no, it's me." And before he gets me out, he throws a pot. The machine explodes, killing Skarov instantly. The chateau goes up in flames.
And it burns up all but one of the Mona Lisas. And it was one of the ones.
May not be a fake.
And it was one of the ones that Tom Baker wrote, "This is a fake" on under the canvas.
Yeah.
Well, as far as I remember, they don't say it's one of the ones that has this is a fake on it. It's probably.
It's funnier that way.
Oh, yeah.
Leads to sort of the theme of the piece. Well, not moral. This isn't Orphan 55.
Oh.
But it's the thinking point of the whole thing.
Pain.
The idea of, is art really worth it if you only look at its monetary worth?
Pain. My soul is in pain right now.
So,
welcome to my life.
And Duggan protests, you can't hang a Mona Lisa that has "This is a fake" written under it in the Louvre. Why not? Well, because it says it's fake, but it's the picture, it's the genuine article. Leonardo painted it. If you're going to critique art on that grounds, you might as well have art by computer.
Yeah.
Yes,
so
if there's an X-ray on it, then they deserve to have a painting that's a fake.
So that's the message of the story. Art is valid, and if you have to sort of create artificial validity to it, then it's not really art anymore. Except NFTs. Fuck NFTs.
Yeah, it's not like that crazy computer painting will ever take off and become a multi-billion-dollar business where people are making 3D animated motion pictures instead of doing any sort of 2D animation anymore.
Oh, well,
that'll never happen.
Let's say goodbye to Duggan.
Yeah, so they.
It's Frozen 3.
The Doctor and Romana leave the. Are they in the Eiffel Tower? I think they are.
Yeah, they are in the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah. They leave. Duggan gets a memento of the adventure. He buys a postcard with Mona Lisa on it, which is a nice little bit.
That's there, summing up the theme. It's the Mona Lisa. It's a pretty picture.
Yeah. They shout goodbye to Duggan and wave goodbye from the bottom to the top of the Eiffel Tower. He somehow sees them because he's got atomic vision, and that's
Robo Duggan.
And that's the story. And that is City of Death.
That's City of Death.
That's how he managed to get through the wall that was obviously not foam.
So you want to go first here, Aniak?
I will quit, because I don't have too much to say about it. So I can see why
I'll go last, I think.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I can see why the fandom loves this. I don't think it's as good as they do, but you can't dislike a story that has sparkling Douglas Adams dialogue. Well, you can, because Ket's about to, but I can't dislike a story that's got sparkling Douglas Adams dialogue, some great characters. Duggan, of course, is fantastic, but Herman, the Countess, Paul Kerensky, Julian Glover is a fantastic villain. He was very annoyed that he didn't get to go to Paris with the rest of the cast, but he was a fantastic villain.
Poor guy.
The greatest actor of his generation, possibly, and they snubbed him by not letting him go to Paris. It was just Tom Chadbon, Lola Ward, and Tom Baker, and some of the crew. But yeah, there's a lot of filler in this, like the various shots of running through Paris, and usually for me, filler makes me like the episodes less. But when the filler is this good, like the art critic scene, I can't dislike it. I'm sorry, I just can't.
So I like it too. It is not my favorite Tom Baker story, but I can definitely understand why it is someone's favorite Tom Baker story. It is pretty high on that list. I don't know if it deserves to be that high, but it's good. The best part about it is the dialogue, of course. Douglas Adams was a comedic genius, and this is evident by City of Death. It is a work of comedic genius. That's the best part about it, the funny, witty dialogue. Now, some of it drags on a bit, it has to be said, all the scenes at Paris and some other stuff in like parts 3 and 4. But, you know, it's got a good plot, and it does, on first viewing, keep you wondering what the hell is going on. The twists, like the Mona Lisas or Captain Tancredi. So, it's a solid Tom Baker Doctor Who story. It's very good. You can see why fandom loves it, even if you don't love it like as the greatest of all time or whatever. The greatest of all time, of course, is Warrior's Gate, which is a little spicy take, but not as spicy as the take Kat is about to give us. Take it away.
I didn't much care for this episode, or this series of episodes. Not because of the dialogue or anything particularly wrong with the story. It's just, I tend to judge things by how likely am I to rewatch this. You know, like Avatar: The Last Airbender, I will happily rewatch that. I will always rewatch Remembrance of the Daleks. You know, I'll rewatch Happiness Patrol because that's fun. This one, I don't like filler. I just don't like filler. And this has a lot of filler of the Doctor, Romana, and everybody else running around different locations in Paris. And it's like, we get it. You're in Paris. Can you move it along, please? And I still understand the whole idea of writers got to eat, and you know maybe they wanted to cause some tension with having them run through actual people, but it still stands to the fact that those are actual people out there reacting to cameras, reacting to the actors and everything. And I just wish that it was a little bit more tight on that end. Um, Honestly, I also kind of wish that maybe some of the stuff with Scarleone was a little bit better explained as well. Like, why did the warp drive, splinter him through time? I like the concept and the idea that these guys are thinking about this, but it would still be nice for them to actually come together and, explain why this is happening. So overall, I'm not a hater of this episode. I could definitely see why many people like them, but, I just wish there was a little bit more to it.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say that for me, City of Death is a story I have gone back to multiple times and I like it. But I get it.
Yeah. But like I said before, all you have to do is put it in a different city and maybe change one thing, which would be the Mona Lisa to something else that's priceless. And it would still work. Like maybe they try to steal the Hope Diamond or the Crown Jewels or something like that.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from there. So, decent, but not one you'd be apt to take off the shelf and go, oh yeah. Unlike, say, a Blu-ray of the Colin Baker Trial of a Time Lord series.
Which is fantastic. I'm going to get around to the extras soon enough.
You need to get to the Doctor Who cookbook one. It's
Yes.
so good.
Yes.
But I think all that's left is, Rayak, I believe you're up.
Yeah, and
Hey.
like for that, I won't beat around the bush here. So I had a story in mind ready to go, and then I found out that this week is the 70th birthday of Peter Davison.
Hey,
Oh.
happy birthday.
So I changed my pick at the last minute.
Oh boy.
So next time, Peter Davison stars in a classic, well-regarded serial called Frontiers. I'm kidding. It's the Five Doctors. It's the Five Doctors. Mike,
No, Mike, come back,
Do
Mike.
it.
Mike, you're
Oh,
saying it's the
he's
Five
gone.
Doctors.
Do it. Do the Frontier.
The
Do it.
20th anniversary special, the Five Doctors.
All right.
You know, it is my turn after this. There could still be time for Frontios. I'm open to double dipping.
I know you are.
I know.
Mike, I don't know where you're going to be in about 10 days' time, but you might want to take a vacation and stay away from social media for a bit.
It's like if you've seen The Brave Little Toaster, imagine that scene with the clown just saying, "Run."
Jesus Christ, how horrifying. Say goodnight, Rainiac.
Yeah.
Good night, Rainiac.
So we can be found on Twitter at ReviewsDoctor, Kat at Concave Usurper, and also twitch.tv/Concave Usurper, where she sometimes streams video games. Jerry's at Freezing Inferno, and I'm at Rainiac the Maniac. And all that remains to say thank you to you, the audience, for listening to us talk about City of Death. Thank you to Jerry and the Cat for talking about City of Death with me. I've enjoyed it very much. And join us next time for The Five Doctors.
Also, if you would like to send me death threats or any sort of infuriated paragraphs about the fact that I'm not a big fan of this episode and this serial, then you cannot send that to at Concave Usurper. Instead, send it to at Rainiac the Maniac, because that's the official one that I'd be on. I promise it's me on there.
Wow.
Good night, everybody.
What's this buzz coming towards me?
I'm Regina George Dim.
Oh, fuck.
On that bombshell, bye for now.
Bye.